like that.
She wanted to do it.
Right on, Jack.
I was like this. I got bam. I was like, oh my God. I said, I'm done. That's it.
That's it? No more? Your arm hurt.
No more.
Zan, you like that, huh?
Yeah,
But
next
you were
week.
driving,
Yeah,
Zan.
have fun.
You had fun?
Yeah, have fun.
Okay, that's
I had fun watching you.
I did too. She was so like.
Zan said, ain't nobody
No,
getting
because now I'm like coming like this. What's going on with me?
That's
Go
how
like this. My arm like swinging. Oh, my arm like, keep on moving.
She was doing it though.
I was doing it, man.
Okay.
But
Calm down, man. We got Bible study. Okay.
the mom calm down a little bit.
Zan, you were driving good, baby.
Wait till Pastor
You're
Carol
good.
gets you
All right, come on, let's have one prayer. But you were doing good, baby. Let's pray. Master God, we thank you, we praise you for your love and your kindness, Lord. We thank you for the privilege and the honor that you afford us to be your people. As we pause in your presence now, God, we ask that you would speak to us. Cause us to hear you, dear Lord, and to understand how we can better serve you. We surrender to you and your will. We pray you be glorified in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We're still looking at the miracles of Christ. Discerning, attempting to discern exactly, as exact as we can get, how we are to serve the Lord, understand why he works miracles in our lives, and how to benefit and glorify him by what he gives to us and does with and through us. God's miracles that he gives us, they're not just for us. He doesn't rescue us and bless us just so we can be rescued and blessed. His miracles in a way charges us to further serve him, to be more faithful and diligent in our efforts to bring him glory, to give him honor. So he in a way, in a real sense, he equips us through his miraculous presence to be more faithful and more capable of serving him and loving him with our lives. So he moves us forward. So let's go to John chapter 5. And we're going to look at the man beside the pool for 38 years. He teaches us something, because many times we get blessed. We pray for blessings. We wait for blessings. We labor for blessings. We do what we think are the right things to be blessed. And then we get blessed and we don't know how to handle them. Blessings take us in the wrong direction. Blessings become a burden for us because we don't appropriate them correctly. So we get the blessing that we want. God shows up and blesses our lives and transforms us. But in the aftermath of blessing, we mishandle it and it end up not bringing us closer to the Christ, but in many cases pushing us further away. It doesn't accomplish God's mission and that it prepares us to do his will. In fact, we misuse it and it changes how we approach it. So we're in John chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. It reads, "After this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda, in Hebrew, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of the sick, lame, blind, and paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water, because an angel would go down into the pool from time to time and stir up the water. Then the first one who got in after the water was stirred up recovered from whatever ailment he had. One man was there who had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the sick man answered, I don't have a man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, someone goes down ahead of me. Get up, Jesus told him. Pick up your mat and walk. Instantly, the man got up and picked up his mat and started to walk. Now, that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "This is the Sabbath. It's illegal for you to pick up your mat." He replied, "The man who made me well told me, pick up my mat and walk." "Who is this man who told you, pick up your mat and walk?" they asked. But the man who was cured did not know who it was, because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. After this, Jesus found him in the temple complex and said to him, "See, you are well. Do not sin anymore, so that something worse doesn't happen to you." The man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. Okay, lot of text here, but we're gonna bunch it up together. So the man he's there for 38 years, or at least we know he's been sick for 38 years, and we know he's been there more than once because he says, "Every time I'm on my way, somebody beats me," which implies he tried this before. So we don't know if he's been trying it every year or all the time for 30 years, but we know he's been there before, and he's been sick for 38 years. Sick to the point that there's some kind of paralysis, something that inhibits his movement.
Yeah.
So he can't get to where he wants to go. Because he says there's nobody to put me in, which implies that there's certain body parts or members that's not moving like he wanted to go, so he can't just go. He needs some help. So he's been there for that amount of time. But let's look at verse 1 through 5. It says, "After this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. By the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there's a pool called Bethesda, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of sick, blind, lame, and paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water, because an angel would go down into the pool from time to time and stir up the water. Then the first one who got in after the water was stirred up recovered from whatever ailment he had. One man was there who had been sick for 38 years." The first one who got in, that kind of sounds like the world we live in. It's the people who, everybody's sick, but it's the people who seem to need it the least, or the folk who got the most help, are the ones who get in the water first. The man says, "I'm on my way, I'm trying to get there, but as I'm trying to make it, somebody gets there first. Somebody gets in the water before I do." And if you just kind of look in our society and the world that we live in, sometimes it appears that those who need it the most are required to go without most often. Those who struggle under the weight of life the hardest and the longest seem to get the least amount of help. If you have something, people are more likely to help you. If you go into a bank and you have a little something, they're more likely to give you a loan. But if you go in there and you have nothing, you need help more than anybody else, you're probably going to get turned away. So people say that it is always easier to find a job while you have a job. Because if you don't have a job, now they're looking and they're searching, they're trying to find out what's up. Because people say they help those who already got something. And that's how the world operates. That's not how Christ, that's not how the church is supposed to operate. But the world that we live in, it seems to throw the lifeline to those who swim the best. It helped those who seem to be closer to their own status. That's who they help and reach out. And that's kind of what it sounds like here if we read what's happening, because the pool gets stirred by the angel, but it's those who have somebody to help them get in, or those who are able to move the fastest, who can get there on their own, who get in first. And it's not like effort does it. It's not like I'm determined to get there. It may take me a little longer because only one gets it. So it's the first one. It's not like the guy at the end of the line who works the hardest and it may take him 3 times as long to get there, but as he keeps working, keeps plugging and get there, he's going to get the blessing. No, it's not like that. It's like, well, I just showed up yesterday, I stubbed my toe. You've been there for 38 years, you have paralyzed, but when the water is stirred, I run and get there and my toe get healed and you're still in your paralysis for 38 years, looking at year 39. Is it fair? Probably not. Does it sound right? Probably not. But is that how it works? Probably. It's close. Because the world is not really concerned about how long you've been sick. It's pretty much what can you do? What do you have? What are you about? Now, the text says he was sick for 38 years. So not only is he dealing with the fact that he's never the first, he never, no matter how much effort he puts in, he never quite makes it. He has to deal with the fact that he knows what it is not to be sick. See, if he's been sick 38 years, that implies that there's some years in his life that he wasn't sick. So he knows what loss is. He knows what it is to have lost your health, what it is to have lost your dignity, what it is to have lost your place in society, what it is to have lost the respect that others have for you. He knows, he's familiar with loss because he is now hanging out with folk like him. He's hanging out with folk who are sick, hanging out with folk who are lame, hanging out with folk who are blind. Don't know who he was with before. But he was probably with the healthy folk before. He probably wasn't hanging out at the pool with all the sick, the blind, the lame folk. He probably wasn't there. He probably was hanging out with folk who were able to move around, who didn't need the troubling of the water. But now he's hanging out with folk. Every one of them need the water to be troubled. Every one of them is trying to get the same thing. They have the same hope, the same desire to be the first. They want you healed, but they want their own healing more. They don't want to see you sick for the 39th year. But if they have to sacrifice their healing for you to be healed in year 38, get ready for year 39. Because they're moving on. It's not that they dislike you, not that they're hating on you, not that any of that. But what it is they're at the pool, and the way the system is set up, I only can get my healing if I deny you yours. I only can be made whole if I take away your hopes of being made whole. And sometimes that's how our world functions. People think that the only way I can get up is to push you down. The only way I can make it is to hold you back. The only way I can be blessed is to somehow deny you yours. It's just business. It's not personal. I have nothing against you. It's just business. It's just the way life is. I just got to do it. It's how it is. And that's how this system, even with this stirring of the water, is kind of how it is set up. But the man's determined. He's dedicated, or maybe he's just holding on to his last hope. But he's there. He's there at the pool, and he's tried it and failed before. He struggled to get there, but he couldn't. But he's still there. He's at the pool. Is he dedicated? I don't know. Is he committed? I don't know. Is this his last hope? I don't know. But what we do know is he's at the pool and waiting for an angel to stir the water at a time that he don't know. It's not like at 4 o'clock the angel going to come down and stir the water. It says from time to time. So you got to be there hanging out, waiting, and then all of a sudden the water gets stirred, and then there's this commotion toward the water, and the first one in get it. I don't know who calls the tie, but the first one in gets the blessing, gets the healing, or whatever the ailment is. The first one get it, the leader of the pack, which is the most fitted person. So here he is, 38 years, disappointed but hopeful. Understanding what loss is, but wanting to be restored, wanting to be regained. A different crowd. He traded his old crowd for a crowd of folk who like him but will close him out for their own good. Who care about what he's about, But they got the same hope, the same dream, the same passion. They're going for the same thing. And so there he is in this dog-eat-dog world. And he's trying to make it on his own using the skills that he has. Using all that he has, his effort, his strength. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like anything like the world that you either came out of or saw or are a part of? But it's just this dog-eat-dog world. People will pat you on the back, tell you they love you, and promise you stuff, and then when the rubber hit the road, I'm sorry, man, I had to take care of my house. And you can't get mad, can you, or can you? I mean, should you or shouldn't you get mad? Because if the shoe's on the other foot, would you take care of your house or bless them? What would you do if the shoe was on the other foot? So do we get mad or don't know. But here's this man, 38 years of dealing with this situation. Verse 6. It says, when Jesus saw him lying there and knew he had already been there a long time, he said to him, do you want to get well? Sir, the sick man answered, I don't have a man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, someone goes down ahead of me. So Jesus saw the man, knew his story, and the hopelessness of his efforts. Jesus saw the man. Now, if his efforts were not hopeless, if his efforts had the potential of actually getting the results that he and God wanted for him, chances are Jesus wouldn't have said nothing to him.
Yeah.
But Jesus says to him, because he saw him, knew he had already been here you've been here a long time and you ain't made it yet. You've been doing this a long time and you ain't made it yet. You've been doing it your way a long time and you're still sick and lame. You've been doing it your way a long time and you're still messed up and in trouble. You've been trying to handle it your way a long time. So Jesus looked at him, knew his story, and knew that his way wasn't going to fix it. Does that sound familiar? He looks at us. He knows our story and know that us trying to do it our way is not going to fix it. Me getting mad, me do all the planning, you doing all the stuff you do. We come together. It's not going to work without Christ. It's our way ain't going to get it done. There's too many obstacles. There's no one to help. We're too far away from the pool. There's too many other folk who are in front of us. There are people who are more equipped. There are people who are cutting me off and not running me into walls. There's people who won't let me move like I'm supposed to. Right? So you wonder how is that stuff going to work? So Jesus knew his story, he knew the hopelessness of his efforts, and so Jesus asked the man a question. Now you say, well, Lord, why didn't you just heal him? Why didn't you just, he's there for this amount of time. God, you know what I'm going through. You know what I'm up against. You know what I've been, you know how hard I've tried. You know how long I've cried. You know how my heart has been broken. You know what's going on in my life. Why don't you just heal me? Why didn't God just heal him? Why you got to ask him a question, which seems to be kind of almost insulting question. I'm sick 38 years later. I'm doing everything I can to get well. I'm giving every effort, every attempt, every ounce of my being, trying to get rid of this problem, trying to break this thing off my life, trying to be set free. And Lord, you're going to ask me if I want to be. Well, yeah. I kind of want to be. We're in John chapter 5. So Jesus asked him, do you want to be healed? But now Jesus' question required the man to do a couple things. Jesus' question required the man to really discern his true feelings about his life.
Come on.
See, sometimes we get so fixated on winning, beating, getting over, getting through, getting rid of the problem, that we really don't discern what we think or feel about our lives and who we are. I so want to pay my rent, that I forget that I'm supposed to be honest and holy. I so want to be able to stand on my own that I forget that I'm supposed to have integrity and holiness. We sometimes forget that wholeness is more than getting rid of the physical condition.
Come on,
So Jesus, do you want to be made well? Consider how you really feel, because some people actually embrace their illness.
Come on.
Their illness is their badge of honor. It's they get sicker the more attention you pay to them.
Yes.
Because the illness becomes a symbol of attention. You act like you care.
Right.
When you care that I'm sick.
Yeah.
But when I'm not sick, you don't act like you care.
Come on.
If I'm sick, you call me. If I'm sick, you come see me.
Wow.
If I'm sick, you say I'm praying for you. But if I'm not sick, you don't call me. You don't pray for me. You don't come. So it seems like I'm more accepted. So some people actually wear and embrace the illness or the sickness in a way. So Jesus says, consider, discern now. Do you really want to be made whole?
Jesus.
Do you really want it fixed? Do you really want the change that a changed life is going to require? Do you really want it?
Is that God's way of also not stepping over the gift he gave us of choice?
Absolutely. He absolutely gives us the gift of choice. But our gift of choice is now, let me, well, I'm saying,
is that why you asked him? So he wouldn't be violating his choice? Because like you said, some people want this.
That's right.
They project like they don't, but
They really do.
So this way he give them the benefit of the doubt. You sure now?
That's right. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But you got to be sure.
Yeah.
Because he's discerning. But the only way you can, I think that's true, but the only way we can really answer that question is introspect. We have to look at who we are and how we feel, not just at the pain that the injury caused. See, if all the man looked at was what he lost, the shame that he had to go through where he was, his loss of condition or status, if that's all he looked at, he was, yes, I do. But you have to look at, but now what are you giving up? What is it what change is going to be necessary in your life? And we have to have that place where we look and say, what is God going to do with me in the midst of this situation? See,
probably that 38 years, you're still identified with it too. You know, you're like, that's such an identity, like 38 years I've been.
That's right. That's right.
He gonna have to get a job. What he gonna do?
That's right. For 38 years, you've been here. People been giving you stuff.
Now you gotta work.
Because not only have you been sick for 38 years, you are now 38 years older.
Right.
So
Wow.
you know not only have you been on this trip for 7 years, you are now without all that you had before.
Right.
You have to rebuild that stuff.
Yeah.
So Jesus' question also required a man to determine what he was willing to do for and with a changed life.
Yes.
See, look, do you really want to be made whole? And what are you willing to do
Right.
to be made whole?
Yeah.
And what are you going to do once you are whole?
Glory. Hallelujah.
See, we just say, heal me now, heal me now, heal me now. And we all want to be healed. We all want to be blessed. But if we're going to handle the blessing right, we got to understand that it's not just to get rid of the 38 years of lane. It is to prepare for year 39 and 40 and 41. That how are we going to live? So Jesus said, it required him to answer the question. Check yourself out now. Do you really want to be made whole? Do you really want to be made well? And what are you willing to do to be made well? And what are you going to do with the wellness once you got it?
Glory.
That's good.
Much
Yes.
is given, much is required.
That's right. But required don't mean taken. See, so too much is given, much is required, but too much is given, those must give what is required. See, we say God, like that story, I take my money, throw it up in the air, and all God wants, he keep. Everything come back to the ground belong to me. Well, that's kind of how that's kind of how we live. We're like, okay, I'm living my life, and whatever God wants, whatever you want, you do. But if you don't do it, then it's up to me. I can do me. Yeah, not really, not really. It don't really work all just like that. Okay, so Jesus' question required the man to determine what he was willing to do to change his life. He responded to Jesus, the man responded to Jesus based on his experiences. He says, Jesus, are you willing to do you want to be made well? And he said, sir, every time I try, every time the water is stirred, every time I have opportunity, every time I have hope that this is going to be my turn, this is going to work out for me, every time that happens, I get disappointed. Somebody beats me. Somebody gets there before me. So he doesn't answer Jesus' question directly. He answers out of his experience. Because, and that's how most of us do. I tried this before and it don't work. I prayed before and it didn't work out for me. And I went to church and I prayed and I read my Bible and I tried to do what was right. I paid my tithe and it just didn't work out for me. So we answer God out of our experience. But how many of you know that when you live in a broken world, your experiences can lie? When we live in a world that is dysfunctional and broken, what you've experienced may not tell you the whole truth. He's misled by his experience to the point that he is missing who's asking the questions. See, he's so fixated on what was, he missed that Jesus asked him about what could be. See, Jesus put before him possibility and hope. He answered in failure and despair. So when we miss Christ, we don't see him, we begin to talk about what lessons we learned. But those lessons aren't right.
You said they are not right?
I hear what you said. Every lesson is not right. Every lesson that our experience teach us aren't good lessons, aren't true lessons. For instance, you grow up with somebody who tell you you're a nobody, you're a nobody. Your experiences are you are a nobody. You feel like you're a nobody. But that's not true. That's right. That's your experience. But your experience just lied to you. Yes. You've been shaped, or your experiences are trying to shape you by a lie. Yes. That's not who we are. That's not what God didn't. I've been a mistake. I'm a mistake. No, you're not a mistake. You're not. You see, the only way you can be a mistake is God gave life in error. He don't do that. So you can't be. So, but if you're shaped by that lie, that experience, then what it does, it misinforms us, and we miss the hope, the possibility of a living Christ standing before us, asking us a real question. Consider who you are. Consider what you want. Consider what you're willing to do to be different, and consider how you're going to serve me once I change you. We miss the hope of becoming what God wants us to be because we're locked into the lie we're locked into it. And it's not just bad stuff that we get locked into. We get locked into good stuff. Sometimes our job's a good thing and we get locked into it. But he wants me to have my job, don't he? Yeah, he does, but not at the expense of your relationship with him. That's right. He wants me to take care of my family, right? Yeah, he does, but not at the expense of your relationship with him. So it's not that I allow the things around me to usurp my relationship with Christ. Because those are great experiences, but they say the wrong thing. People say, you hear in the church all the time, my number one ministry is my family. No, it is not. Your number one ministry is unto the Lord Jesus Christ. Your number one obligation is unto Christ. And Christ uses you in your family. He uses you to take care of the church. See, if Christ is at the center of your being, then he informs all other relationships. But if you put your family at the center of your being, then your family influence and informs all other relationships. That's why people will miss church and miss Christ and not serve the Lord, because they say, my family. Well, Christ may have sent you to your family in certain situations, but let him send you. Don't go and tell Christ, this is what you want me to do. Okay. Y'all understand what I'm not saying I love my family. I believe if you take care of your family. But in order for life to function, no one and nothing should sit upon the throne at the center of your being except Christ. No one. There is no obligation you have to anyone or to anything that is more powerful, more demanding, and hold you at a greater obligation than your responsibility and your obligation to Christ. Now, I'm not equating church with Christ, but I am saying once Christ starts informing us, every satellite relationship and organization around us get our attention as Christ directs us. It don't become our center. And this guy who's being asked to, do you want to be made whole? And at his center is his experience. How do you know? Because that's how he answered. Do you want to be made whole? That's a yes or no. That's a yes, please. Don't you see my effort? Come on, do it, Jesus. But that ain't what he says. He says, every time I want to, every time I try, somebody get in my way. Because I don't have nobody to put me in. So what does he do? He focuses on the lack of his life. He focuses on the deficit, the deficiency of life. And he misses the all-sufficiency of the Christ standing before him. He's so fixated on what he don't have and what's not working that he misses that there is a Christ in front of him that says, I can make it better. And we can't kick his backside in because we already talked about how he experienced loss, how he's experienced the pain of losing and understanding what it is to be the outcast, to be marginalized. We already know that he did that. But look at what it makes him do, y'all. Look at his words. What it makes him do is he blames others for his inability to get better. Do you want to be made well? Sir, I don't have no one to put me in. First blame. Nobody will pick me up and put me in. And sir, every time I struggle on my own strength to get there, somebody cuts me off and beat me there and get there first. He blames folk. He blames those who won't help him, and he blames those who go first as to why he's not healed. So when I look at my experiences and I miss the hope of the Christ in front of me, unless I'm willing to blame myself, which most time I am not, I find somebody else to hang the responsibility of my failures on. I wouldn't be like this if you didn't. I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't. I only said it because of. I only stole because you wouldn't give me what I needed. It is what we do, and he does this here. He blames other people, but what's he really saying is, I'm special. I should be privileged. These folk ought to help me get there. That's right. That's right. I'm privileged. I'm special. They should help me. And they see me struggle. They should wait on me. Let me go. It's my turn. I've been here 38 years. It's my turn. You just got here yesterday. So it's like we blame folk, but the only way you can blame someone else for the junk in my own life is that I feel somehow privileged. I feel somehow you wronged me. You wronged me. But now I ain't saying folk don't wrong us, and some people bear blame because they intentionally do stuff. But most of the time, a lot of the time, well, some of the time, we blame people for stuff that we did or stuff that we expect them to do that we wouldn't do for them. We expect them to do for us what we would not do for them. I see it every day. I see it right out here in this circle. People going around the circle. Folk get mad when folk don't let them out. But as soon as they get out, they don't let nobody else out. They blow their horn to get out. Let me go. And they get out, and when they get out, they don't let not another car out. And I'm like, well, they do it. We get mad at folk because they won't do for us what we will not do for anybody else. And so we can't blame them. What we have to do is see that there's a Christ in front of us, asking us to consider, do you really want to be made better? What are you willing to do to be made better? And what are you going to do when I make you better? He's in front of us, asking us these questions, all right? So what is the man really telling Jesus? The man is telling Jesus, listen, I do my best, I give all that I have, and still I'm no better. Now, I don't know if you ever said that, but I've said that before. God, I do my best. I give all that I have. I've tried everything I know. I've been here. I've been faithful. I've done it all. And still it's broken, messed up, won't work, won't fly, won't move. What are you doing, Jesus? Now, who am I? Who are you to say, well, God, what are you doing? Because I've given it my all. I've given it my best. I've done it. And still it's messed up. Man, every time I try to go, somebody beat me. Won't nobody help me. I got to do this all by myself. Yeah, except the one in front of you right now is there to help. That's right. So you answer the question. No. So you have to answer the question. Now verse 8. After the man said that, Jesus says, get up, Jesus told him, pick up your mat and walk. Instantly the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Now that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed, this is the Sabbath. It's illegal for you to pick up your mat. He replied, the man who made me well told me, pick up your mat and walk. Who is this man who told you, pick up your mat and walk? They asked, but the man who was cured did not know who it was, because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Jesus understood the man's answer, even though the man never answered the question that Jesus asked. He took...
This guy didn't have a clue who was asking him?
Nah. Didn't know.
So he put faith in total strangers.
Yes.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
He answered the question the best he could. And Jesus gave him grace. You see, because...
I mean, when he told him to get up, I mean, I'm pretty sure some other folks probably said, why don't you just get up and get out the way? He didn't listen to them, but
right.
Jesus told him, like...
But something happened.
Yeah.
It says Jesus told him to get up. Immediately he was made whole. Then he got up. So it was... Something happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something. So the faith is questionable if it ever came at all. But the faith came based upon a change that he felt.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a difference between Jesus saying something to you and some other bystander.
Well, the difference in Jesus saying, making a change in your life and somebody else. See, a lot of times the Lord will make a change in our life, and we'll credit something else.
That's right.
You know, he'll bless us, and we'll say, "Oh, I got a promotion on my job." Oh, no, the Lord did that. Or you're sick and you go to the doctor and oh, I got, it went away. They didn't find anything. That don't mean it wasn't nothing there to start with. So it's we can be blessed by Him and still not recognize that it was Him who did it. And it happens all the time. All the time. All the time. You almost rear end somebody and you say, "Oh, man, my reflex, I still got good reflexes." No, it doesn't. The reflex ain't like that. You just got blessed. That's what you just got.
That's right. Jesus saved you and I said.
That's right. That's right.
But you know how sometimes you're around people and you can just feel certain things that you know that there's an aura or a God-like presence in them that's different.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And sometimes you're that person.
Sometimes people get blessed by God all the time and still don't recognize that it's Him. That's the thing that, it's I don't know what they think it is, but you just don't, everybody else did it but God.
Right, that's right. That's right. A lot of times people think it's them. I was smart enough, I made the right move, I made the right choice, I made the right decision.
Or luck, you just have luck.
Dumb luck. And that's what they do. But see, it's kind of like this move that's out here now. It's called the new atheist. And what they do is anytime they have an explanation for something that is not God, they say, "Okay, I no longer need God, therefore there is no God." So, and a lot of times that's what we don't call ourselves atheists, and we don't do it, but we do that same thing. We say, "Okay, I no longer need God. I got the job. I no longer need God. I'm back on my feet. I no longer need God. My life is back in order. I have a sin. Oh, it wasn't cancer. It was gas. So I no longer need God. So we get into that situation where when life seems to have worked itself out a little bit, we then say, "Okay, all right, God, later." Now we don't say I don't need God. We just act like it. Okay, God, we good, but I'll see you next time I have a scare.
It's kind of like we're limiting ourselves. You hear so many people say what I thought and what God gave me or let me allow me to do or came upon me is so much so abounding that my mind could not get around it or never think that far. But these are really good questions.
Right. But that's absolutely right, sis. That God does more for us than we can ever ask or think. And when we take it upon ourselves to be selfish and do us, I'm just gonna do me. I don't care how good it turns out, you cheated yourself. I don't care.
Others too.
That's right. That's right. So you can come out, it came out good. You was walking, now you have a hoopty. Well, you could have been the next Uber guy. But you ended up driving your own hoopty. Now that's a good thing. You ain't walking no more.
Right.
But look at what you missed. You're not the next Uber guy. But the pain of it is most of us never really realize the distance between hoopty and Uber guy. We don't see how much we actually miss. So we celebrate the little bit and we never focus on how much we actually miss by doing it our way and not God's way.
But it reminds me of like who he's surrounded by. He's surrounded by all this hopelessness and this despair. Whereas you think about the other guy that couldn't walk and was lame, that was surrounded by people that love God and brought him to him.
It's a gate called Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's like on some level, if you're not looking for him and you're not surrounding yourself in the right place, it can take even longer.
Right. That's right. If you don't put yourself with the right folk, if you hang out with people who suffer with the same hopelessness as you, yeah, hopelessness become a way of life.
Yeah.
And your hope is for less hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you start celebrating possibilities, not victories, because you're looking for less hopelessness. But that's not just the world, you know. Christian folk get there because we want what the goods of the world, and we want to call them blessings in the church. See, we want the wealth of the world, but we want it because that's a blessing. Well, God's blessing is not always wealth. God's blessing is not always the goods out there. God's most powerful, most significant blessing is a full, living, dynamic relationship with himself. When we are in full embrace relationship with Christ, that's the blessing. Because in that position, he's promised to supply all of our needs. He's promised to be with us because we're in that relationship. That's the blessing. But we want the what we call blessings, the stuff, more than we want the stuff giver, the blessing, the blessor. But this guy, oh, okay.
So, the thing that always is in my mind is that when God does bless you, he's requiring you to do some. He's letting you. Almost like I might be saying it wrong, rewarding you, but you have to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely.
And go on with the next assignment. And he always gives you those glimpses that he's there with you, no matter when what you're going through.
That's right.
And that and the assignment isn't as tough because he's there with you. It doesn't even seem as bad as it is. I mean, if you didn't have Christ in your life, it would destroy you. You'd have a nervous breakdown. You have all kinds of issues going on. But when Christ is with you, you have so much peace that surpasses all understanding. People don't understand how you can be living the way you are with everything that you got going on, and they're like, you know, and it's just like that's my experience, and I see it constantly that he just gives me more and more strength the more and more I go on.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And
it almost makes you don't even want to turn away from him because you almost like, you don't even want to do wrong.
That's right. That's right. You want to live for him.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. But here's where it gets hard, Sister Tanya, for anybody really. It's right here in the text. It gets hard. You see, because the world considers what Jesus does for us as out of bounds. As illogical, irrational, not permissible. It's not permitted. So they say, stop. Now the man just got healed. He's whole. 38 years. I'm healed. And the man told him, pick up my bed and walk. My little man, take up your pallet and go and walk somewhere. You ain't been able to walk fast before in a long time. Go. So he picks up his mat and he walks. And now those in charge of society says that's not allowed. Your blessing, the grace of God on your life is not allowed. That's not rational. It's not rational that you ought to forgive those who despitefully use you. That's illogical. That's not allowed. No, you can't claim that God is going to heal you. That's it. You're living in denial. That's not permitted. The world wants us to think that what Christ does for us is illogical, irrational. It's not permitted. You can't do what God tells you to do. You can't do what Christ tells you to do. It's not permitted. You won't make it. You won't survive. It won't work out for you. You can't do it. That's what they want us to know. But here's the irony of it. The sheep gate, it says the pool of Bethesda was by the sheep gate, right? It was outside the city. The sheep gate was the place where they actually brought the sacrificial lambs, the sheep, into the place where they were going to sacrifice. So it was the place where sacrifice moved in, the place where substitution was going to happen, the place where those who were down would get a new life because here comes the sacrifice. Not only was that the situation that the sheep gate was there, but it was the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day is a day of worship, a day of renewal, a day of what was old being taken away, and now you're being refreshed and renewed. So you have a sacrifice on the Sabbath. Every Sabbath has a sacrifice. That's what you do. But here is this man who is at the sheep gate, and all of a sudden, he gets the benefit of a sacrifice. He's made new. He get what does he get? He gets refreshed, renewed, a renewed on life. That's what the Sabbath does. It renews and refreshes. So he gets all that his position in the time says. It fits. But don't nobody see it, don't nobody deal with it, because there's legally they're saying it can't happen, and he's saying, I don't know what just happened. Because that's where they were. So if you look around your life, the blessing fits, but it fits in perspective of what God is doing in your life. It fits in according to God's will. We want God to come, reach over and do something to us over there where we are comfortable. We don't want to be uncomfortable in a situation where what's going on in our life. So, he was blessed by the Lord, but he didn't know Jesus. Blessed by Jesus, but don't know him. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. That's our situation all the time. That's the situation of the best of us. We're blessed by him, but we don't fully know him. Yes, I know Christ. You know Christ. We love Christ. We're serving him, but we don't know all of what he does. And anybody who says, I know the fullness of Christ, I know everything about Christ, but they're already, you need to repent, come to the altar. Because we can't know all of who Christ is. We're learning him. We're growing him. The Holy Spirit is revealing him to us more and more every day. So the man didn't know who healed him. And the truth is, sometimes you get out of situations and circumstances and you don't know how you got out either. You don't know how you escaped.
It's only because I'm starting to know him now that I realize how much he blessed me when I didn't know.
That's right.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Because I can look back now, oh, that was you.
That's right.
That's
right. You're right. Thank you, Lord, for that.
Yeah.
You know, because
This right now, that right there.
yeah.
Man.
So he was blessed. He was blessed. But here's the pain. Here's the problem. Here's the situation we gotta be careful of. We can't make the mistake that this man made. What this man did. Now, I may not know fully who Jesus is. I can't explain to you totally how he got me out. I can't tell you all of who he is. I can't tell you why he did all that he did. I can't do all of that. But I should be able to point him out. This man lost Jesus in the crowd.
That's right.
We can't lose Jesus in the crowd of our life. We can't let so much stuff, so much clutter be in our lives that we lose him in the crowd. Jesus should not be hiding behind the soap operas or your favorite Tuesday evening TV show or the NBA or the NFL. Or he shouldn't be hiding behind or blocked out by the demands of life, the job, the workplace, or the grocery. How am I going to cook tonight? What am I driving? No, the price of gas. Who's the president? Jesus should not be blocked out in the crowd of the clutter of our lives. And because if that's the case, when we go to look for him, we ain't going to see him. We're going to see clutter. When we try to point him out to those who say it didn't happen, those who say it won't work, we won't be able to point him out because there's so much other stuff cluttering our lives. So we can't make that mistake that this guy made. It's understandable he didn't know who Jesus was fully. But what's not understandable is that he lost Jesus in the crowd.
Yeah, and didn't make like he was looking for him.
No, because that's the next one. That's the next. Let's go to 14. It says, after this, Jesus found him in the temple complex and said to him, "See, you are well. Do not sin anymore, so that something worse doesn't happen to you." The man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. He said, therefore the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath.
You did.
The man, get this. The man lost Jesus in the crowd. But the man didn't go looking for Jesus. Jesus sought him out.
So that's like another opportunity right there.
Yeah.
And didn't even nothing.
Didn't say thank you. Didn't say.
We never really say that. Nobody ever says thank you.
Nobody said thank you. Jesus sought him out. Jesus was looking for him.
Yeah.
Jesus wouldn't found him. The man didn't find Jesus. Oh, what? I mean, see, like me, I say, well, who told you to pick up your mat and walk? They didn't even say who healed you. He said the man who made me well told me to pick up my mat and walk. They didn't say, well, who made you well? They just said, well, who broke the law? Who told you to pick up your mat and walk? Next to healing, who told you to pick up your mat and walk, right? It seems to me that he was saying, wait a minute, y'all, and went and found him. Seemed like he would have wanted to find the man who made you whole.
Yeah, especially after all that time.
Yeah.
You would want to.
Yeah.
Because your mind, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I need to see you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's true. That's true. But
Yeah.
explain, that's true. But with that truth, explain to me the empty seats in this room. Explain to me the empty seats during worship. Explain to me how the Bible is the least read book. Explain to me how folks can stay up all night watching a game, but can't spend a solid hour with God. See, because to me, that's not seeking him. You see, if we're going to seek him, then our way of seeking him is all the avenues of us knowing him. So if this man is wrong for not going to look for Jesus in the crowd, why are we not wrong for leaving our crowd intact?
We are.
Yes, we are. but we should be motivated to get rid of some of the clutter in our lives, so that we can again focus. We need to be more intentional about seeking him. See, we're intentional about getting from him. We're not intentional about seeking him. The folk pray hard when they need a job or need a healing or need a good attorney. We pray hard. But what about that prayer life when it's just to get to know him? When it's what about that when it's trying to figure out who he is, given the time necessary to grow close to him? What about that? See, this guy didn't go seeking Jesus. But the grace of our God is that he keeps giving us opportunity to know him. Even though we don't seek him, he keeps putting himself in our lives in a way that if we desire to know him, we can. That he shows up in this guy's life again. He makes himself known. Jesus makes himself known. But the man didn't really want to hear what Jesus said, because Jesus makes himself known, but he tells the man how he ought to live from now on. Don't you sin no more. Now, Jesus doesn't,
Just wanted to walk.
right, Jesus doesn't really say you were sick because you sinned. So we don't really know if sin created, if the man's personal sin. We know sin is the ultimate culprit. But we don't know if the man's personal sin resulted in his 38 years of illness. We don't know that. All we know is Jesus says, don't you sin no more, which implies that at some point in your life you sinned before. And that's, we all do that. So he said, and Jesus says, don't sin anymore so that nothing worse than your 38 years of sickness and paralysis will be something minor, because something greater will happen to you. You get that? Don't sin, because sin will bring something worse than this. Don't sin. Now Jesus wasn't saying, I'm going to punish you with something worse than this.
No, but he can walk now, so he can escalate his sin if he chose to.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
He can do more. But sin itself is an escalation.
Right.
Sin itself is a what's that word? A vortex. It pulls you down. Sin itself, it keeps robbing you of your life. You know, you say, well, I only been doing, I only got this one little sin. But that one little sin is occupying how much of your life? And therefore, you couldn't handle two little sins. One little sin is killing you. One little sin is destroying you. So why are you bragging? You don't need to. That one little one's enough. He's calling us to get rid of it, to draw closer. See, we said everybody has a sin. Even Paul had a thorn in his flesh. Yeah, but he didn't get to pick it. He didn't go to the sin market and say, well, give me that one. So we can't say, this is my sin. This is just what I do. This is who I am. I ain't grown out of it yet. No. That's just
Your choice to not want to get right.
That's right. And it's just wrong. So 38 years. If you mess up, if you sin, 38 years, something worse than 38 years of sinful paralysis will become your reality. If you keep messing up, worse than what you've been through will show up.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of like God comes into our lives to bring us to salvation. If we're focused and see that it's Him, and then as we learn His ways and who He is, then we can be at that place that He's trying to teach this man to go.
Well, yes, he can. He can use anything. See, people say God used the bottom of the barrel to save us. Well, God can use the top of the barrel to save you. The gospel at the top ain't no different than the gospel at the bottom. The problem is we reject it all the way to the bottom. So he doesn't use the bottom. It's just that we finally hit it and decide, well, I ain't got nowhere else to go. Let me try Jesus. But you can be saved at the top of the barrel. So, but the problem is, a lot of times, Sister Terry, is that we're really not interested in knowing Jesus. We're interested in being blessed by Jesus with the promise of heaven.
Right.
We're not interested in knowing what see, because to really know Jesus is to live under the obligation of His will.
I know the best example for me is Jeremiah. Because, on the external part of his life, you'd be like, yo, stop serving Him. But because of his intimate relationship with God, he was like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
God, keep going.
I ain't got no external proof for y'all that this is a blessed life, but because of my relationship with Him, this is a blessed life.
That's right.
Yeah, because he had, just from face value, just reading his story, you're like, whoa.
That's right.
I would have tossed it in a while back.
Done. We done, Lord. We done here. You see him. You take care of him. He sat over there mad like Jonah. Well, I knew you was gonna save him because but that's right. That's what you do, man. We have to come to the place where we want to know Him. It's like we stop living. The Lord gave it to me this way this morning. We have to grow to the place where we stop living to escape our old life and live that way to embrace our new. See, a lot of us live and try to do what's right because we're still trying to escape the old life, still trying not to let the old life hold on, trying to be set free. We got to stop living honoring God as a way to pay for or separate ourselves from the old life and start living, loving and serving God as a way of embracing our new life. I do this because it's now who I am and what I want to do.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I've been in church all my life. And, it was a Methodist church. But I was never in a relationship with God until I came here and under your teaching. Like, people go to churches, and I'm not sure if it was where I was at in my life at that time, but I never had the knowledge that I needed to be in a relationship with God. Oh, I just go to church and I pray and I ask God for what I want and I go back home. It was never like put in me that I needed to be in a relationship with Him. Right. Until I started coming here and coming to the Bible and learning more and more. It's like you have to grow into it and it doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
It takes a lot of time. I've been here 14 years. You know what I mean? I'm just like the light bulb's just coming on. Like the light
but since the time, I appreciate I appreciate the compliment, but I can't take it.
No.
Because look, there's so many people who's been here that have the light bulb's not even in the they're not even and I've been preaching and teaching the same thing. The difference is when you develop a hunger, when you develop a desire for Christ,
That's it right
now you get fed.
Oh, yeah.
See, but folk who just want to come to church and say, I heard a guy the other day say this, that most Christian lives are like half-built, what's the word, edifices, because they jump in without counting the cost, and
right.
they become just enough Christian to be respectful, but not enough Christian to become uncomfortable. And so we don't want to be uncomfortable in our Christianity. We don't want to have it. The closest I got to being nearly fussed out and cussed out in Hope Church is one time I talked to folk about their tithing. And I grouped people together that tithe at a certain level and talked to them about their tithing, each group. And I almost got thrown out of a window because folk were angry that I would say to them, you should obey God, because they felt they did the best they could do. And so they were so angry at me because I said, you need to trust God and obey God because He'll provide for you. And they said, you don't know what you're talking about. Stay out of my life. You'll have no right to do that. And so people can get really angry when you're confronted with the truth of who Christ is and what Christ does. And so we have to see here that this man was just healed by Jesus. Y'all got that? Just healed. But he was willing to turn his healer in to the authorities to protect a relationship that his healing gave him a right to. Say it again. He was willing to turn his healer into the authorities to protect a relationship that his healing gave him a right to. He was at the pool of Bethesda, which is outside the city of Jerusalem. Okay? When Jesus went and found him, he found him in the temple. He could not go in the temple before because he was sick, he was lame. But when Jesus heals him, now he gets to go and become a part of a society that he was never a part of before. So he so wanted to protect that relationship with that society that now accept him, who had just finished marginalizing him. He so wanted to be a part of that he was willing to reject the one who healed him. It happens all the time. Mess around and let somebody get some money. Mess around and let somebody find that special someone. What happens is that takes them away. It takes them, it moves them away because that relationship, that job, that cash, that special boo, whatever it is, it's become so important in their lives that they're willing to compromise Christ to keep it. Happens all the time. We got to make sure that does not happen in our lives. We can't respond by reporting Jesus as a lawbreaker.
That's crazy. And I'm only saying it's crazy because you can't forget where he brought you from.
You're right, it's crazy, but
It's
it happens.
crazy. I know that it happens, but it's ludicrous because where you came from, it wasn't by your hands.
How many days did it take them, Pastor, when they crossed through the Red Sea to let go of the sculptor? It took them 9 days.
9 days, not many, right?
Not even 2 weeks.
That's right. Moses was up there and they say, he gone, he ain't coming back.
400 years of slavery, split the Red Sea for you, let you walk through dry, killed your ex-captives. Not even 2 weeks went by. They butt naked and got a gold cap. It happens.
Crazy. Like you forget just like that, and oh, I got a lot. We got to talk after.
You do forget. No, you do forget because that's why you have to stay focused and stay committed to Christ. Because you don't see, one thing I learned a long time ago is when people mess up, don't slam them. Because your mess up is right around the corner.
What you saying now?
So
Yeah.
what I have to do to limit my mess ups is to stay focused on the one who cleans me up. And if I can stay focused on him, then he helps me because I was driving home from Cincinnati and a young man in a like a Charger or something came up behind me and started blowing. I guess I was going too slow for him. I was in the slow lane. On the other lane was the shoulder. But he came up behind me and he just laid on his horn. And I just kept driving. A big truck went by. He then jumps over the fast lane, shoots past me, comes over Zan, right in front of me, and slams on his brakes.
Stop it. Oh my God.
And I locked my stuff up.
Yeah.
And then he gives me the longest finger on his hand.
Cause you did it.
And hit step on it.
You did it.
Now, I ain't got a fast car. But everything in me says step on the gas. Everything in me says step on the gas.
Your emotions just take over by itself.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like, what was that?
But I said, Lord,
Help me.
You don't know what he got.
what in the world is my words? And in that time was, let him go. And the next exit, he shot off and I kept going. I didn't know how to feel about myself. You understand? I didn't know how to feel about myself. Because I didn't know to say, good way to go, boy, or you chump. I mean, I didn't know. It took me a little bit of the ride home to figure out I did the right thing. Thank you, Jesus, for holding me and keeping me. Because in past lives, I've been off the exit winning. But that's wrong. See, that for me, what I figured out was that God allowed me to see a little bit of growth.
Yes.
But the growth wasn't so strong and so great that I didn't consider.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was growth, but it wasn't finished. So that's what I'm saying to us. God grows us and matures us to the place where we can do the right thing and stand up and do the right thing. But don't miss this last point. Last point. God gives us grace, but don't make it cheap. At the pool of Bethesda was sick, blind, lame, paralyzed people. There was 5 porticos, 5 covered porches. And the pool was something like 150 feet by 300 feet, and there's 5 all sides, and one across the middle was, and sick and lame people laid under all of them. Okay? Of all those folk who were there sick, Jesus picked him. Of all the people who've been through what you've been through, all the people who have to deal with what you dealt with, all the people who suffered through a similar life story, God picked you. He picked you to bless. He picked you to pick up. He picked you to keep safe and to make whole. He picked you. That's grace. But the man mishandled the grace.
Yeah.
Because the life that grace gave him introduced him to a social standing that he valued more than the one who healed him. Gotta bring you through, gotta bless you, gotta help you, gotta lift you. But you can't let that become more important to you than the one who healed you. It is crazy that poor folk are more apt to pay tithes than rich folk. Why? Because poor folk pay it out of hope. Rich folk says it's too much money. Neither one is the best scenario.
Right.
But it's crazy. Why? Because we have to come to the place where, God, I obey you in every aspect of my life, or at least I attempt to, because I love you.
Yes.
Not because what you're going to give me or keep me out of, or, you know, I'm going to pay my tithe 'cause I want to see the windows of heaven open, or, you know, I'm going to pray because I want to see this situation. I'm going to forgive them because I want to see you put hot coals on their head. No. None of that. It's God, I'm going to do what you want me to do because I love you.
Yes.
That's how we respond to grace. I'm going to use this to glorify you. I'm going to use this. This equips me to magnify you. That's how we respond to grace. Be if we like it or not. That's what we do. Don't follow him off the exit. Don't step on the gas.
Yes.
Don't chase evil because you think evil has done you wrong.
And say, oh, I guess he was in a hurry.
Yes, he was in a hurry. Well, and the grace of it is like, God let me not hit him.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't see that at first, but that was grace. God let me not hit him.
Yeah, that's
So-
a whole more issues.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Domino effect.
Okay, that's it. Questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas, comments? Come on and let us pray.
I can think about it.
Hey, buddy.